Aloha, welcome. My name is Preston and we're here on the beautiful island of Kauai in the Hawaiian island chain, and we're going to talk about radio communications for towered and non-controlled airports. So this will give you confidence in the cockpit the next time you fly, that you're on top of your game, that air traffic control knows what you're saying, that you know what they're saying, that you know how to communicate, and you're doing it proficiently and you're sounding professional. That's what this is all about. So stay tuned. We're going to start at the control towered airports, which, as you know, I'm sure when you're pilot training already, it's the Class D, C, and B airports. And the procedure is pretty much the same for D, C, and B. There are a few little differences when you get up to C and especially into B, but pretty subtle differences, and we're going to talk about those as we go along. So the first one we'll start with is a Class D airport because it's the simplest one. Now the thing you want to think about when you're talking to the control tower is, where is this person at that I'm talking to? So think of the tower, and of course you're going to be able to look out a lot of times out the window of your Cessna or Piper or Beech, whatever you're flying, and you're going to find the control tower. And in the tower, typically in a tower we have sometimes more, but there's usually at least 3 different tower controllers inside of here. Okay, and what you have is you have ground control, and then you have tower control, and then you have approach and departure control. And as we said, C and B airspace, there will be a couple other differences here, but these are the 3 basic ones for the smaller Class D, and a lot of times in the C airspace this is what it is too. So you're going to talk to them when you're on the way out. Of course you're going to talk in this order, and of course you're going to listen, you're going to tune in ATC, that's number 1, which is the Automated Terminal Information Service. And after you get the ATC, you're going to talk to one of these guys. Now when you're talking to these guys, think about where they're at. These 2, ground and tower control, both of these guys are up here. They're looking out the window. Their jobs are to keep airplanes from hitting each other on the surface, okay? That's what they're for. Now the tower controller, a lot of times he will extend it out a little further, but of course it's always up to the pilot to keep visual separation from the aircraft, any aircraft, so always be looking. It's not his job, it's your job. Now the ground controller and the tower controller are both up here, looking out the window, and the approach departure control guy, he's down here a lot of times in the basement or sometimes in another building, and he's in a dark room looking at one of those round green computer screens with the radar going around, so he can't see you out the window. When you're talking to ground control, the first thing you want to talk about is the 4 W's. Okay, so we're gonna look at the 4 W's. And you may have heard this before. If not, you're going to hear it now. The first W is a who. Actually, I'll tell you the 4 W's right now. There's who, the second one's a who, and the third one's where, and the fourth one is what. If you can remember this sequence, who, where, what, okay? That's going to help you out to remember the sequence of what you're going to talk to each controller on an initial call-up. So the first who is who you're talking to. And the second who is who you are. The third W, where you are. And the fourth W is what you want to do. What do you want to do? Okay? Big question for all of us. What do we want to do? Okay. Who you're talking to. In this case, we have a tower here on the island of Kauai, and the name of the tower is in the town of Lihue, and so we call them Lihue Tower. So Lihue, and of course every airport is going to have most of the time a different name. And in this case, since we're starting out and we're talking to ground, we're going to say it's Lihue Ground. Lihue ground, and we don't say ground control because they already know that they're ground control. We just say Lahui ground, abbreviate it. Now, who you are. This one, a lot of people get hung up on this one. It's a common mistake area. If you're in a Cessna, you don't want to necessarily say Cessna, okay? You can, a lot of people do, but it's more appropriate to say your model name. Every airplane has what's called a model name, most of them do. The Cessna series use, you know, they're all numbers, but they usually have a name designator as well. So for instance, a Cessna 172 is a Skyhawk. Cessna 172 Skyhawk. And of course, some of the others may or may not have a name that's easy to say. But what this name is going to help the ground controller tell is how fast are you, okay? That's what he's really looking at. What is your speed range? He knows off the top of his head all the different models of aircraft. If he doesn't know off the top of his head, he has a chart there he can look really quick. And when you tell him your model name, he's going to associate that with a speed range of aircraft, and he knows how to sequence you in between the King Airs and the 737s and the other light general aviation aircraft, light sport aircraft, whatever they are that are coming in and out. So it's important to tell him the kind of aircraft. So, and if you just say Cessna, often you'll hear him say, what type Cessna are you? So you might as well just tell him off the back, we're a Skyhawk. When you say Skyhawk, he knows you're a 172. Now, if your model number does not have a good name, like for instance the 152, there's a couple of different model names for a 152. You could say Aerobat if you're in an Aerobat. He may or may not know what that is. But if you tell him Cessna and the tail number, you might want to tell him you're a Cessna 152 right there. That way he knows your speed range and he knows where to put you in the flow. So that's important. It's important. If you just say Cessna, you might be a 421 and your speed is twice that what a 152 is. So that's going to help him a lot if you tell him your model name. So who you are, and in this case we're going to say Skyhawk. We're in a 172. And we'll call it 1, 2, 3, 4 Alpha. Where you are. Now, this is going to be where you are physically located on the airport. So look around you. When you get to the airport, at the Lahui Airport, we have some T-hangars, we have some transient parking areas, we have a service called Air Service Hawaii. A lot of times you'll be parked outside of there. And so when you're telling him where you are, in this case, since it's initial call-up, it's the first time he's hearing from you, he wants to know where on the airport are you. So we're going to say in this case, we'll say Air Service. And he knows already it's Air Service Hawaii because we're in Hawaii. So you don't have to say Air Service Hawaii. If you want to, you could. And the next thing we're going to tell him is, what do we want to do? And this is going to help him know, does he have to keep dealing with you in the pattern? Are you just wanting to get a clearance to get out and get out of his hair? What does he want to do? What is he going to do with you? So what you want to do, in this case we're going to say we'll depart to the south. So departing to the south. All right, now what we want to do here is we're going to, when we say these, we're going to say them all in sequence, just like it's just one statement. So this is how it's going to sound. Lahui ground, Skyhawk 1, 2, 3, 4 Alpha at Air Service, departing to the south. Now, we're going to put a couple of tags on here because we didn't quite tell him everything he's wanting to know with that. We told him almost everything. The next thing we want to tell him is that we have the current weather. Whatever the ATC was, they updated every hour at least, and then sometimes even more when the weather changes. They'll always give it a letter designation, which goes off the phonetic alphabet. A, of course, is Alpha and Bravo Charlie, and you've probably looked in the Airman's Information Manual and found that. You can look it up and memorize them. It's a good idea to do that. And what you're going to do is tell him that you have the weather, and you want to make sure, he wants to know you have the current weather. So if you listened an hour ago, or you listened to the AWAS on the way in on the phone or something, that's really not the current weather. He wants to know that you have the current weather. So whatever letter tag they gave it, that's what you want to tell him. So we have, say it's Tango, okay? So we're going to say with Tango. Now, the other thing that you should understand about the control towers. These guys up in the tower, they have a lot of work. They're looking at lots of airplanes coming and going all day long, and every time what they do is whenever they have an initial call up from an airplane on the ground, what they're going to do is look for a little slip of paper that the approach departure control or flight service sent up to them that tells them that you're departing on an IFR flight plan out of the area. So if you want to save your controller, your ground controller, a lot of work, so he doesn't have to look through all of his papers, what you want to just tell him is, I'm VFR. When you say VFR, he automatically knows, okay, I don't have to look at any of these papers. Now this guy's just wanting to get out of here and I'm going to be happy when he's gone. So what I would put on this little departing to the south, I would put a tag that says VFR and with Tango. For the IFR traffic, of course, it's going to be exactly the same. We're just going to say instruments to Chicago or wherever we're going, okay? And otherwise it's the same thing. So here's how it sounds from the top. Lihue ground, Skyhawk 1234 Alpha, air service departing to the south, VFR with Tango. You don't have to say over, you just stop right there. And wait, give him about 15, 20, 30 seconds. If he's not busy, he'll come right back to you. Sometimes he's got 2 or 3 other airplanes that he's talking to, so you don't want to get too excited if he doesn't come right back to you. Often you'll hear something like this, aircraft calling Lihue ground, say call sign. Repeat call sign or something like that. And you would only repeat the call sign, that's all he asked you for. So you would say Skyhawk 1234 Alpha. That's all you got to say. And he's going to come back, and because he heard everything else, now he knows what he's going to do with you. And he may say something like this, aircraft calling Lihue ground, say again. And so you're going to repeat it again. You're going to say Lihue ground, Skyhawk 1234 Alpha, air service departing to the south, VFR with Tango. Okay, now he's going to come back to you with sometimes a pretty long detailed list of what he wants you to do. And it's good for you to have a pen, pencil, whatever, a kneeboard and a piece of paper. Take some shorthand notes, because with this call back, what he's going to expect for you to do is read back what he told you. When you read back what he told you and you read it properly the first time correctly and you repeat it back in that sequence, what you're telling him is, I understand what you told me, I'm a pilot, I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to stay on top of this aircraft, and you don't have to babysit me because I'm going to do it just like you told me to. So let's give an example. And by the way, if any of you want to role play, you can go to my website. We can do some role playing. I can be control tower guy, you can be the pilot, and it helps sometimes for a few minutes to just go back and forth and do some role playing, do some scenarios. What are we going to do? And when the tower gives you your instructions, have your note paper there, have your shorthand already worked out, be able to read back in the same sequence what he told you, and then when you read it back, you're going to be on your way. So let's do a couple of scenarios where the ground control brings back, they come back with some information for you, and he's going to come back, he's going to use the same sequence for the first 2, and then he's usually going to have some other things that he has to say. So a typical reply from ground control is going to be Skyhawk 1234 Alpha, taxi to runway 33 intersection Foxtrot, hold short of runway 27 at Alpha. Now that's just generic, I'm just making up those letters and numbers, but every airport of course is going to have a unique set of taxiways and runways. When he gives you the instructions, you want to write down what he said. It's very important, especially for the hold shorts. You cannot cross a runway unless you're cleared to cross it. We'll talk about that in a minute. When he says to hold short of a runway, you need to make sure that you read back and you understand, I'm going to hold short of this runway. So in this case, what we're going to do is take a little break. And look what we have behind us right here on the island of Kauai. Pretty common occurrence, but it's really cool. We have a rainbow. Look at that right there. We're standing on the Nepali coast, by the way, so if you look that up on Google, some of the most beautiful scenery in the world right here on Kauai. And let's get back to our our ground control to Major Tom. Okay, what we're gonna do is ground control is gonna come back with some scenarios, with some instructions, and along with those instructions, of course, you're gonna write them down and read them back to him. So he's gonna say something like this: Skyhawk 1, 2, 3, 4 Alpha. I'm gonna demonstrate how I take notes on this with my knee board. He's going to say Skyhawk 1, 2, 3, 4 Alpha, taxi to 3-3 intersection Foxtrot, hold short of runway 21 at Sierra. Now these are generic letters and numbers, but this is exactly what he told me in shorthand, okay? And this is so I don't forget what he said, and right away I've got it in front of me. I can refer to it as I'm looking at my ground control map or my ground diagram of the airport, and I can read back to him exactly what he said. So what I'm going to say is taxi to 3-3 at Foxtrot, hold short of 2-1 at Sierra, Skyhawk 1, 2, 3, 4 Alpha. All I got to say. That's my instructions. I repeated it back. Now I'm going to pull out my airport diagram, which I already had. I had a bookmark in, so I can just open it up. I can look and see where am I going, and right there I can see it. I can see where I'm supposed to hold short. And it's going to be really simple for you to get right out to the runway and do what you need to do for the run-up. Wow, look at that rainbow. Let's get a good shot of that one, shall we? That is just beautiful. Wow, look at that. It's a double rainbow. Look at that, there's a second one on the outside of it. We see double rainbows a lot here on Kauai. A lot of times when you're flying, you'll actually see your airplane silhouetted against a rainbow circle in the clouds. It's a really beautiful place to fly. Wow, that is so cool. Okay, so you can call me if you want to do some role playing. Call me, give me a call. We'll talk about how we can set that up. Sometimes just a half hour, an hour is all it takes for you to get the confidence you need in the cockpit when you're talking to ground control or tower control and so forth. So let's move on now. What we're going to talk about next is the tower guys. So we're gonna taxi on out, following those instructions. What it's really helpful for you to differentiate right here is between initial call-ups and handoffs. When you're dealing with air traffic control, lots of times what you're going to be dealing with is a handoff. What a handoff is when one controller told the other controller what you're doing, and he knows, the other controller knows already, so you don't have to tell him everything that you told the first guy because he already knows. So in this case, we're going to talk to tower control, and we're going to tell them what we already know. Well, yeah, we're kind of losing, huh? Losing rain. It's going to rain. Well, we found out one thing, that when we see a rainbow, that means there's rain. So we just made it through a little bit of a rain squall, and the sun is just looking beautiful. And we're going to get right back to the ground control here and the tower control. So we taxied out to the end of our taxiway, and we stopped. We hold short of 2-1 at Sierra because that was our instructions. And we're going to wait there until he tells us that we can cross. We're not even going to call him. We're just going to stop there and wait. When he's ready for us to cross, he'll say, Skyhawk 1, 2, 3, 4 Alpha, cross 2-1, taxi to 3-3 at Foxtrot. Or he might just say cross 2-1. If he says cross 2-1, then we're going to go with the initial instructions. Of course, we're taxi to 3-3 at intersection Foxtrot. And we're just going to follow that through, do what he said. We're going to stop. We're going to stop short of 3-3, and we're going to be at intersection Foxtrot. Now, somewhere along the line here, we're going to do our run-up. Usually we're going to do it right there at the taxiway, right before the runway. We're going to do a run-up right there and check, do all our systems check, make sure everything's working. And when we're ready, we're going to taxi up a little closer to that hold short line, just to make sure we stay clear of the runway. And then we're going to let tower controller know that we're ready for takeoff. And in this case now, it's not really an initial call up because the ground controller already told the tower controller what we wanted. And all we have to tell him now is we're going to end this. By the way, this is one of the only times when you're talking to air traffic control that you can change frequencies without instructions. you're just going to automatically switch over to tower control, and you're going to tune in tower control and tell them that you're ready at 3-3 at Foxtrot. All you have to say is, in this case, you're going to say, Lihue Tower, Skyhawk 1234 Alpha is ready 3-3 at Foxtrot. Ready? Okay, when you say ready, that means you're ready for takeoff. He knows that, and now he may or may not give you your takeoff clearance. At this point, he may say hold short, might say line up and wait, which of course is the new way of saying taxi into position and hold, or he might say you're cleared for takeoff, and when he says cleared for takeoff, you can go. All right.